individuals some very tough, very intriguing, and very thought-provoking questions that have been curated by either the production team and or some of you fans out there who have put through your submissions through our online forums. So, without further ado, let's get this party started. And I think the first question's a pretty easy one. So I'm just going to put it up in the box for the viewers on the online to have a look at. And of course that's not going to size right. There we go. That'll do. So the very first question is a general one, and it's for both of you, either or. We'll see who wants to start first. Is what inspired you to create, I guess, this character for the Chronicles of Amarr campaign? Who would like to go first? Who wants to jump on that one?
Please.
Mind going first? Sure. I mean, the character I have in mind kind of has a lot to it. It's one of those characters that's a bit apprehensive to start, but then once warming up a bit more, maybe more things begin to become uncovered. But really, my character, one of the things about it, which is almost kind of funny, is that they're really closely intertwined with like a lighthouse, which is quite random, really, when you think about it. But it's a lot. There's a lot of symbolism and things of that kind. But one of the reasons in which that was something that was drawn to me was just that, honestly, I live quite close to a lake that has a lighthouse, and and a bit of a Great Gatsby vibe. I can see it, circling the lake from a bit far away every once in a while, and it's one of those things that you're not necessarily looking for, but you can see it all the time, and just kind of the symbolism that has behind it and all the different kind of pathways and things that opens up. I mean, to some people it might just be a light spinning around and around, but it really can mean a lot more in different ways you think about it. I mean, God, Gatsby nearly gave his life for something of the kind, so.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you. Richard, what about you? What inspired you to create Lolliput?
Well, it's a funny story, and it's probably not nearly as insightful or as introspective as Nina's answer.
No.
But I think we were having a discussion like right back at the start about, okay, what characters are already in play and what gaps might there be on the team. And I'd been reading this book series from an Australian author called He Who Fights Monsters, which is really great if anybody's looking for kind of like a D&D video game inspired kind of book. But anyway, the character in it kind of plays this Australian guy sent to another world, but it has all these kind of like shadow magic powers. And then I saw a shadow magic sorcerer, knew there was a role to fill, and it kind of grew from there. So when I'm kind of like building characters, I tend to start with maybe an idea or something, but then I kind of look at what would be the best fit for that idea and then kind of work out other story reasons to justify it. So it all kind of evolved from there. I think Lolliput's penchant for acting and taking on characters didn't really come about until I picked the actor feat, and then I looked for narrative reasons to justify that. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing it that way. I also love characters like Driz de Warden and all those Dark Elf books. So it's kind of cool to play a Dark Elf, if not directly set in places like Minzo Baranzans and the Underdark, then at least kind of like feeling like I'm in that kind of world. So that's where that's all kind of come from.
Nice. It's still legitimate. Every inspiration comes in many forms, right? You don't know where it'll come from next. Well, thank you for those.
The old news. D&D news out there.
Let's have a look. What is the next question? Another general question. Ooh, this one's the spicy one. We like the spicy one. Let's just see if this is going to play nice in the box. It does.
Spicy things really play nice, Andy.
Always. Oh, God, there we go. That'll do. All right, so our next question, general question, is... I guess it's early days. We've got a couple extra sessions in on top of, I guess, when our last secrets happened. But at this stage in the campaign, this early, what are your character's initial thoughts about the other party members? Richard, you get to go first this time.
Interesting. So let's start with the characters I have on screen at the moment. So Lilith, she's probably, in terms of how Lolliput sees her, the one that can kind of get the ball rolling the most. Like, Lolliput is a creature of like chaos, but also action. And so if nothing's happening for a while, he likes to kind of stir things up. And I think he sees an ally in Lilith for that. I think he's also a little bit worried about how far she'll go, particularly since she almost cut off the leg of our centaur in episode 2. So with Videri, I think he kind of sees one of the most reasonable people of the group. So if he's looking for kind of like the most kind of sensible decisions, I think he would have originally kind of gone to Videri to kind of like work out, you know, how to interact with this world, because he's quite new to this kingdom and these kingdom's ways. But there's been some interesting things which Videri has started to kind of reveal to the group, which is starting to kind of make him maybe a little bit less certain of her kind of balance, I guess, when it comes to decision making. I think if you had to kind of say his bestie of the group, it would probably be Aries or Willowbreeze. They tend to kind of get up to a bit of mischief together. And I think Willowbreeze's willingness to kind of go along with any story as long as it centers him in the hero role is something that Lolliput can definitely work with. Falsters is a bit of a foil to Lolliput currently. Not only is he an elf, and so I think there's a certain kind of similarity that they kind of have in even just kind of that kind of species-like quality, but he's also kind of a bit of the dad of the group. And I think it probably rubs up against Lolliput's desire to kind of just get out there and cause chaos. And the other two characters, Eleni and what was our new cleric's name again?
Ishmir.
Ishmir, that's right.
Yeah.
I think he probably has the most antagonistic relationship with Eleni at the moment. And Ishmi, he hasn't really gotten anything to do with him yet.
Yeah, still early for them, but it's important to know in chat that Aries has informed that the big question really is, why is Aries the favorite character? So, you know, important things here.
Well, we're getting to the real issues that
Yeah.
are on the front of people's minds right now.
I mean, does it have something to do with the fact that he doesn't wear pants? You see that as a rebellious sort of thing that you really, really sings true to?
How is Aries? Why is Aries? When is Aries?
No, thank you, Richard. Nina, at this stage, what does Videri think about the other party members, the other interesting individuals in this little adventuring group?
So I think I will start with Alani and Ishmael initially. No trust at all. There's no. I mean, these are people whose morals are clearly their morals are clearly different between the two parties, which causes a bit of uneasiness, I think, in all parties, because you really never know their next move, their next plot. So. While Videri is, uneasy of those parties, the rest of the group slowly is gaining a bit more likeness in her mind. I mean, when Videri kind of initially set out from where she was from, she never intended to meet up with a bunch of people and make it a whole group conquest. That wasn't ever really on the table. But slowly, I think different characters shown that they have, things they do well, things that could benefit Videri, and who knows if that benefit's going to be returned in the end. It might not really even be on the table, but as long as things go well for Videri, I mean, the party at the moment, some groups are a bit too confident in themselves. some are some are a bit too conservative and holier than thou. Some are just clearly insane and have an owl that's part monkey. Not calling out any parties.
Oh yeah, that could be anybody's monkey.
What is that? I mean, the things that make them different possibly serve benefit in the end. So, if nothing else, the curiosity is there.
So she's more curious and just like wants to see the train wreck, less than the less than ulterior motives of maybe these guys can help me if I help them type thing. Or what outweighs outweighs the other there?
This is something that's earned, isn't it?
That's true.
So, I mean, I think these things take time. I mean, you can't judge a person off of a few scuffles and what else. Things are very much on the fence. At any moment, Videri, like a candle, could just be gone, blown out. No.
Normally that's character death. It's called being snuffed out. The DM's just like, nope, and just blows you out.
I thought it was a character quality.
So my next character idea.
It does sound like you're playing a Charmander right now.
Yeah. She dies if the hair goes out.
Controversial.
Hey, there we go.
Can I just say that could be anybody's monkey, I think, is our next t-shirt.
Do you know that monkey?
It's one of those awkward things where the character of Lilith is actually just one of my multiple personalities, which comes out from time to time in normal speech.
Wait, so you're telling us that the monkey's the main character?
Yeah. He's actually the mastermind.
Oh my gosh! So this is like a whole
the brains behind the operation.
Yep.
The monkey's been Tyler Durden the whole time.
So good. Awesome. Well, thank you for your responses on those two for that question. Let's have a look. What do we want to ask you next? What's a good one? You know what? I like this one. This is always a good one. We'll get this one up. And
what is your credit card number?
So, if you were to say you had an amount of money in your account, how much would it be? And what are your account details? And what's your date of birth? And no, anyway, and it's like, this question seems really, really weird and very personal.
Okay, I did say I'll hold on this. I guess I'll just do it.
Well, they want to know the secrets of the Conclave. I guess that's secret at the moment.
You mean the character's credit card number?
No, it specifically says Nina and Richards.
Nina, it's for the fans. Don't let the fans down.
I apologize if people hear through my mic a whiny dog. I'm locked in this room and he's outside, and he doesn't like being outside when I'm in this room. So he may have a guest appearance in a couple minutes. We'll see how sulky he gets. So anyway, back on task. The question I have now, another general question, is a good sort of like a question of how you started with Dungeons and Dragons. So this one is how or who introduced, or how did you get into Dungeons and Dragons? And I guess if it was a who, what did they say that wanted to make you play? Or if it was a how, what did you see that wanted to make you play? What was your canon event for getting into D&D?
I feel like I've got a good answer to this question, if I may.
Go for it.
So, Dungeons and Dragons was something that I kind of obviously knew about and was reading about and was like intaking the different medias about it before I played, like a lot of people. And I'd played some one-shots in the past with groups of friends from here and there, just kind of like one-off fun little things with people you were really comfortable with, which kind of made it better. Um, and then before I lived here with my partner, we lived down in Cronulla, down in Sydney, and we joined a group that played once a week, as you do. And I'll say not the person or the event, but the thing that made me really kind of latch on to D&D even more and find it really interesting was that the DM that I had at the time, shout out Jacob, a couple years ago, the way he would dress, he would wear a full 3-piece suit. He would have a pocket watch. He would have the little pocket square. He looked exquisite every single night. And it was funny because he would also the plot of the session would be amazing. The characters would be amazing. But just the fact that he also would dress up as if this was a black tie event, and it just made it seem all the more all-encompassing, if you will.
Elaborate
just a different
or
element that kind of it just really kind of roped you in and went, like let's go for it. Let's really role play, just envision it like we are really there and it's all really happening. I mean, it was just what seemed like a tiny thing that actually grew to be quite a big thing.
It's awesome. A man of culture, then. Coming to D. I thought you were going to say that he had the whole get-up. He had the bald cap with the side things, the red robe, just like the DM from the 1980s cartoon.
A bit more sharply dressed than that, but
no, I love it. Richard, how about you? Who, what, how, when were you introduced to D&D?
It's funny because if anybody who's watching the stream at the moment saw Mike Falsters give his answer last week, mine is kind of like the flip side to that tale.
You were there.
What's that?
You were there.
I was there. I can confirm it. So Mike and I went to high school together, and I can remember Mike or some kind of associate friends reading like the Forgotten Realms books. So that was kind of like the very first part I remember of like this, D&D universe. I can remember the cartoon and sorts of stuff like that, but I don't know if I ever made the connection that it was tied to like Dungeons and Dragons and what that really meant. Kind of cut to my early 20s. Mike and I had moved in with another friend, and she was telling us about Dungeons and Dragons, and I was having a really hard time kind of picturing, and shout out to Renee if you're watching, or when you're watching, I should say. But I was having a really hard time trying to work out how like a pen and paper game could have a persistent universe and story and character growth that extended beyond the session. And I can remember just like coming home one day and Renee and her friends were having a D&D game like in like the living room or in like the dining room, and just kind of like peeking over the kind of counter or around the door like that to kind of like work out like what's happening, what is this thing. The next moment, so now we're going to jump forward in time again. I'm watching the awesome community episode, the awesome Dungeons and Dragons community episode. And that I think is the thing that sold it. So the other things have been kind of planting seeds in my mind, but watching this thing play out, this kind of story play out with pen and paper, people role playing, creating a story together, was really just like it showed me how it could be done, and I was absolutely captivated by that episode. And Mike and I had been talking about it for a little while, and we had randomly just both gone out and grabbed the starter set, I think at the same time. I'm pretty sure we've both still got the blue starter set that came with the Mines of Phandalin 5e kit. And it might have even come down to some scissor paper rocks, or who just kind of got the starting gun, started with like the pistol fire to announce when they're going to be running a game. But yeah, we kicked it off, and we kind of just muddled through the rules as we went, as you kind of do with those sorts of things like that. But from the very first moment, I just can remember just kind of going like, wow, why did I not find this earlier?
So good. Yeah, very much the flip side of Mike. But I mean, you guys got the star set at the same time, so it makes sense.
That's right.
Great minds think alike.
We've been often called platonic life partners.
I think it's also called a bromance.
I prefer mine.
Hey,
I prefer my one.
you.
Yep. Yeah, it's a little bit more
what's your
intimate.
relationship name?
It's either Mitchard or Reich.
Right.
Right.
Reich is right.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next T-shirt.
Right, so hard.
That's excellent. We need a character. I hope that's what your name of your warlock for tomorrow is. Spoilers.
Now
by the
it's
way.
gonna be.
Yeah.
So, all right.
All right. What do we got next? Let's have a look. Yes, this is a good one. We're pretty much doing the same as what we did with the others. I might switch up the next question though. Let's just see. So this one's a pretty good one. This is, what aspect of D&D do you find most captivating and why?
Oh, I feel like he nearly answered that question in his last answer, though. But
Do you want to go? Shall I go first, Nina?
Go for it, Richard. You could go first.
it's a hard question, really, when you think about it.
Isn't it?
It's often not just one thing.
No. And I think, like not to tread on Mike's answer from last week, and I think Jesse's answer as well. But this kind of the shared narrative aspect of D&D is probably the thing I like the most. But the kind of using, I think, Mike's example from the week before or a couple of weeks before about an exploding horse. What it was after that incident, and that was game one from this when we kind of had this starter set. What was amazing to me was the fact that like we had just been sitting around a table, and I was clumsily telling a story. Somebody else were kind of chipping in with it. Other players were collaborating on this story. But I remember sitting in bed like that night after the game and like running through the events like I'd just been watching it on a TV screen. And the next time we were catching up a bit, even though we all had like a limited amount of information to kind of interpret that event in game, we were all talking about it like we were there, like we'd been watching it on the same TV screen, that we're all there kind of like with the same visual framework in our heads to understand it. And that for me has always been something which I just find really amazing about the game, and about like when people who kind of dig it in the way that like we dig it, and like I'm sure everyone out there kind of digs it, can like experience something which is really, really quite vivid from just a couple of choice words and some good people hanging around the table.
Yep. Which holds a lot of their aspects, the roleplay, the combat, all of it kind of rolls up into that sense of constructive storytelling between the players. Yeah. Nina, how about you? Anything specific or ditto?
Well, I definitely ditto. Who couldn't ditto?
Mm-hmm.
But I do think just building off of that just a little bit, I think it is something quite special when you're in a room with people who really want to participate. They want to be part of that creation of the story. They're not just a character who's being pushed and guided through something. They're part of the story. They're creating what's happening around them. So I think if you're around the right people and the right mindset who really can, make things out of nothing, out of just situational, a couple lines here and there, and all of a sudden we're dragging a whiteboard through the middle of the city.
Yep.
just having a group of people who are willing to just build on things like that. That's my favorite part, is that you never know what's around the next corner.
It's awesome. Yep. Nah, it's an absolutely wonderful game, and we get many memorable moments out of it, which leads us to our next question. As I add it into the little text box, it is: what was your most memorable moment that you have experienced while playing D&D? So out of everything, what's that one that really sticks out? Like, Mike's one was what was it, horse penis thing?
Otherwise known as horse eggplant gate from now on.
Yeah, that's the one. We'll start with you, Nina. What do you think? What was your most memorable moment so far that you've experienced? We're in a fantastic campaign. There may be a new memorable moment coming up. But in the past, what have you experienced that's really stands out to you?
I do think, although I do love the campaign that we're in at the moment, and I do expect only the best from everyone moving forward, that one of the most memorable moments to the things I've done in D&D in the past was in a past campaign. But the only reason it was memorable is because it was a 1 in 100 shot that had happened. Uh, I played a Warforged in a past campaign who was a bit on the off side, as they are. And somebody who shall not be named rolled a D100 and rolled a 100. And my character, who had this bit of an off kilter, was given the Staff of Magi. I don't know if you know this item.
I know. Even Richard
I don't know
knows.
if you know this item.
Yeah.
Judging by this.
Yep. He knows.
So this character, this Warforged, was given this item that they weren't expecting, and it caused the character to become the main enemy of the entire campaign. Not long after I left that campaign, because I moved from Cronulla up to where we are now, I had to unfortunately retire and say, you can do with my character what you may.
And they became the BBG.
Of the entire campaign.
That's excellent. They became the BBG.
I had a whole speech written out where I was like, you fools, you don't know what you've done. And it just went on like that. And it was the beginning of the end. And I guess I never saw the end, but I don't know how good it was.
What level were you when you got the Staff of the Magi?
Oh, only like 6 or 7.
That's a bit low for that item, but yeah, anyway.
It was because a 100 rolled on a D100, and that happened before the session even started, before we even realized what was happening.
Look, it's important to know that that Jesse in chat has said that he was the one. He's put his hands up saying, I was that person that rolled the 100, and then also said that he should have had the item, not you.
Yeah, he should have. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, 100%. He's right.
So good. That's an excellent story. I love that. I like that stuff. Like, taking literary license with a character, but like doing something so out, like off kilter. It's such an awesome thing. Like level 6 Warforged gets Staff of Magi, becomes BBG of campaign. It's just.
Yeah, literally 100%.
Yeah. 10 out of 10. Richard, what about you? What is your most memorable moment? And if it's horse penis, that's fine too.
I wish I could say it was the horse member, but I've got like 3 parts to this one. So my favorite memory as like a DM would be when I was running a game for my nephew at a kid's party, and he decided to seduce a dragon, and the dragon was really there as a "do not go in here, you will die." And I made it very clear when he was like, "I will seduce this dragon." And I thought, I don't want to have this line of questioning kind of continue on at this party, but B, I was like, I'm not going to give you special treatment just because you're my nephew. But then he proceeded to, and he's like a level 1 character, proceeded to roll a 20.
Oh.
And so you got to respect the 20s. And so the dragon, like, not behooved by his charms in that kind of way, but kind of gave him a pass and a special like magical hat because of that. And I loved that memory still of his dumb luck going in there. Of course, his friend that he managed to drag into that pit did not roll a 20, and so was incinerated immediately. My favorite memory as a player, oh, so many, right? But like one of was actually in a game that you were running, Andy. So we're running this great session. Is essentially the Hangover in Fantasyland. We were all playing bards who had woken up from a terrible hangover and misplaced our instruments. And I was playing what could only be described as the interdimensional, immortal aspect of David Bowie, who had transcended time. Yeah, I know, right? R.I.P.
R.I.P. man.
And was kind of showing up in a pub to kind of like find a clue to where to get the instruments. And it was just one of those great moments about every roll was landing, and it was so narratively hitting the mark. So this drunk thug was trying to like go, oi, can't remember what my character's name was. The bard,
White Duke.
The White Duke. The thin white bard. That's right. So he was saying like, oi, like, do you remember what you did to me last night? And like my character was just being like super, just like, I don't care, mate. I'm David Bowie. And every roll was just landing, and I was singing a song while I was doing it. And the whole encounter lasted like 5 minutes of just perfect rolls and correct dodges, and it was just a beautiful moment. That's a beautiful moment.
Yeah, I remember this now. I was just like, yes. What was it called? The Song of Bards, A Bard's Tale, A Tale About Some Bards. That was the name of the one shot.
It was so good,
and the whole party had to play bards, and that was amazing because I thought, as a DM, just to give a little insight as to other side of it, I thought it was going to be a decent fight. Maybe it would go for a little bit. Maybe the Thin White Duke would take a little bit of damage. Maybe other party members would have to do something. Nah, just nat 20, dodge, nat 20, punch, drop him, trip him, knock him over, did something else, and you did like a spell, and then he failed his save, and then pretty much you just completely humiliated the individual who, I think you had the sword that you got off him because you challenged him the night before to a sword duel.
Yeah, it was so great. If you wanted like a visual representation, it was like the scene in the labyrinth where David was walking down the Escher drawing, like down the stairs and singing a song the whole time. Great.
So good. Well, thank you for those answers. We have one more general question, and then we might take a very short break before coming back to some more targeted questions for you.
Targeted and spicy.
Yeah, targeted, spicy, and just brutal.
We're calling it the salsa round.
Yeah. The Carolina Reaper round. So the final question, that I should probably get up, but I'll read it out while I'm doing this. Multitasking is a great thing to do. I believe this one actually came from your co-star, Mr. Falstus, aka Mike, and it is a pretty generic but very fair question. If you could be any creature of evil, be it a fiend, a devil, a monster, or demon, as D&D has a distinction between devils and demons, what would it be, and I guess why? Start with you, Richard.
Creature of evil. I mean, what is evil, really? I mean, how do we define?
D&D defines it as a creature who's just nasty by birth.
Okay.
Not environmental.
So I could be a hobbit bartender who's just like a real jerk.
Yeah, but that's a choice.
That is a choice. I've always
Maybe
really
that's
liked.
the. Maybe we change the question to what is evil.
What is he?
Have a
Nina,
Ooh.
what is evil?
philosophical debate for the next 30 minutes.
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. It tends to kind of change around. Like I like liches. I like that kind of idea. That kind of happens there. I like mind flayers. You know, all these kind of like quintessential, um, like big bad kind of like evil characters and kind of like what they represent. But I always balk at that alignment kind of scale thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I once heard someone describe like the difference between good and evil as good being you do it for other people and evil you do it for yourself. And yeah, so I like that distinction
Mm.
as much as I haven't really answered the question at all, but just given some vague notes about my feelings.
You're like, I refuse to answer that one because it's an arbitrary question.
Yeah, well, I've got a hoodie which I have evil written over the back of it. So,
So,
can I answer myself?
yeah, you
Am I
just
the evil?
just Richard.
Yeah.
It's important. It's important to know that Jesse says that he would be a Balor or a Black Dragon.
It is important. I respect Jesse's opinion. I'll say my answer is Jesse.
So you pretend to be you would be any creature of evil, which would be Jesse, and Jesse would be any creature of evil, which would be Balor or a Black Dragon. So by extension, you would also be a Balor or a Black Dragon.
That's it.
Nina, how about you? What creature of evil would you be? Fiend, devil, monster,
So
demon? Specifics?
when you say when you would be, do you mean what I would be myself, or what
Yeah.
I would be if what I would most want to see? Because
No.
I feel like
What would you be? What would you if you were given life in a D&D world? Which life would you like to be if it was an evil creature?
gosh, I feel like normally within the evil creatures, there's like the big one, maybe a middle rung and the bottom rung.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking between second rung and third rung. I'm looking to be someone who can control all of the underlings,
So not
but
like
doesn't
a
necessarily
skeleton, not like a skeleton archer, but like the skeleton mage.
a little bit more respect, but I don't
Yeah.
want too much responsibility at the end of the day.
Middle management role in a evil. So not Skeletor, but the henchman of Skeletor, like the second in command.
Enough money to make the wife and kids happy at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, that's
That's
fair.
fair. You still get the office perks, but you're not really beholden to too many KPIs.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Well, what we are going to do, Kraken, Jesus Christ.
I wonder who put that
Yeah. Anyway, what we're going to do, folks, we're going to take a quick, we'll say 5 minutes, and just go get a drink, go to the powder room, whatever you need to do. And we'll jump back in. So we'll be back shortly, with the second half of the Secrets of the Conclave. Thank you. Hello, welcome back. We're back. Thank you for letting us have that quick break. We are going to dive into our second part now. So, let's have a look. Who do we want to torment first?
Wait, where's Nina's camera?
Let's go. Videri. Let's go. Videri, question 1. Let me just punch this in for you. So I think this is a fair question, to be completely honest. Very fair question. It comes from the desk of one Scarlett, aka Metal Mum's daughter. So Scarlett, if you're watching, this is the one that your very important information that she wants to know about Videri, which is, what's Videri's stealth like? How good is she at stealth? I mean, at the end of the day, Scarlett can only imagine her being a giant beacon of light in dark places. So how does that go?
So while you think that's the best question, that's not something that I think we need to discuss at all. I mean, at the end of the day, if the stealth is really as terrible as it really is, is that anyone's business? I mean, just because your hair's on fire doesn't mean you can't wear well, you couldn't because it would catch on fire, or an umbrella. Well, you couldn't because it would catch on fire.
Put on a woolen cap.
The stealth is up to your imagination.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good.
I didn't say that. I've never said that.
Yeah. Nah, awesome. Well, thank you. That says that to rest.
It is a risk.
Or is it?
Wear a hat.
Or is it right?
It is a risk, isn't it?
Cool. All right. Well, we'll jump over to torment you for a second, Mr. Lolliput Lothenway. This comes from the hot off the desk from another of Metal Mum's children. Yeah, she seems to have the monopoly on this at the moment. But this is from Dean. Dean would like to know, how many personalities does Lolliput have?
Dean, that is a great question. So I think Lolliput sees personalities like paints to be put on a canvas. And so how many color combinations can you have? Lolliput just likes to see a nice personality, something which is really impactful, something that might kind of give him advantages when he kind of goes back to his Dark Elf city. And he sees a great personality and he takes it and he thinks, I'm going to use this later. And so sometimes he uses somebody's personality straight off the bat and kind of uses it farm to table, as you would. And sometimes he takes like pinches of it with other things and mixes it together to make a new personality. But I realized, Dean, I've been talking a lot. I haven't answered your question, so I'm going to say 768.
Or is it one of those things where you're just like, when I find out, I'll let you know?
Just ballparking it, 768
personalities. That is, yeah. I mean, you could almost be a DM, dungeon master with that many NPCs that you could create.
I mean,
I like how it started with a bit of a Bob Ross, like, personalities are colors on paint. 768.
Let's face it, Max, we want the numbers, we want the values, because we like number crunching. So it's 768, and let's just stick to it until we review it and we find out it's more or less.
All right. I will be keeping tally from here on out.
Thanks for the question, Dean.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the answer. All right. Well, let's spice things up a little bit.
Oh, we're gonna take it up a heat gauge.
We're gonna knock it up a level, and I'll be completely honest. I'm happy to pose this to both of you, mainly because I have one extra question in this repertoire for Nina over you, Lolliput.
He is the popular one.
So, I mean, that's just normal, just fair, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I should say I am the unpopular one.
No, you're like, nobody likes me. What are you talking about? All right, this one is from Mike, so a fellow cast member, helping us out, fill out some of the questionnaires, obviously asking the hard questions, the real questions. So this one's for you, Videri, we'll start with. If Videri was a cast member from the 90s sitcom Friends, who would she be? Have you watched Friends?
Overwhelmingly specific question. Someone does not watch.
Ah, you've never watched Friends. I mean, we need to... that's... Oh, yeah, Richard.
I didn't say I've never seen it.
What a scoop!
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. On the Secrets of the Conclave, Nita, our cast member, has never watched the critically acclaimed 90s sitcom Friends.
You're very welcome. All praise and compliments will be accepted as they come. Can you phrase that question in a different context in which is more easily understood by the receiving party?
I mean, so so Friends have obviously a couple. What shows? What sitcom shows were you have you seen? Big Bang Theory.
Wait,
that's
that's
70s.
not the question. That's a whole different. That's a whole unboxing video. Is what that is. I would say, I mean, if you were asking me maybe if who a character in the public eye that everyone knew that Videri was akin to, I mean, my kind of inspiration has always been a bit of Howard Hughes, if I'm being honest.
Okay. Yep.
Not to give too much away by who that is and what they have done in their very successful life, but it is a character in which I draw a bit of inspiration.
Awesome.
So
what you're saying is Monica.
Look, the chat
you have to answer the same question, don't you?
Yep, the chat apparently disagrees with Monica. They believe that Videri is a Chandler.
Oh no, no.
Is that an insult or a compliment?
I think we're going to be fighting over the title of Chandler, to be frank.
Well,
I think if anyone's a being, Lolliput's a being.
Lolliput's the being? Oh, okay. Maybe.
We're sending that to the presses. Guys, we want to hear it. Videri or Lolliput, who's the Chandler?
Yep, put it in chat.
Videri's a Chandler. Does that make Lolliput the weird guy that lives downstairs in Monica's apartment? Because I need to know this if I'm... You're already nodding.
Judging on...
She doesn't know, but she's already going, there, that's the one.
She heard weird old guy
downstairs.
I was just like, text out.
You know, I always thought that Lolliput smelled a bit like the basement and just ground, and I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It tracks.
All right. Well, thank you for that one. I feel like that was the question to really give us a good insight into our wonderful cast members here. So this one
in
is
a positive light. I hope you're implying.
Yeah. Totally. It's totally cool to not ever have seen the show Friends. Anyway, continuing on. So Richard, this one's for you. Again, from the desk of Falstus, aka Mike, fellow cast member of ours. He would like to know, carafe or cravat? Please settle the debate.
Listen, I think if you would watch the episode, as I went back and did to make sure I didn't misspoke, it's cravat. It's always been cravat. There is no way that Lolliput is tying a series of glass bottles around his neck and heading to a fancy soiree. Although, considering he is new to the continent, that might be a mistake he could make. But his expensive collection of cravats that he painstakingly packed into his backpack is definitely not carafes. Definitely not glass bottles full of indeterminate liquid.
And you watched the video to confirm this, correct?
I do mumble a lot, so it's a bit of a. I'm pretty sure, but I have a 90, 70. I mean, it's in the high. It's in the high. It's in the high percentile. I mean, it's at least around 50% certainty that I said the right thing.
Okay. Okay. Well, the chat says that they find that answer vague and unconvincing.
Oh, okay.
And by chat I mean Mike in chat.
Oh, okay. Okay, Falsters. All right, I see how this is. Okay. Okay. Where's the hang up button?
Yeah. It's no longer a innocent chat interview show. This has become a Frost and Nixon, you know.
Andy, when my agent set this call up, you promised me there'd be no questions about the carafe. We agreed on that. Someone unmic me. Someone.
I mean, I got to do what the production team tells me to do. So, you know,
Stitch up.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna jump back over to you, Videri. We've got another question. Mike got a double in, so he's got another one for you. Which is good because I mean he wanted to.
Why have you not seen Friends before?
Yeah. No. He did this before he knew that you didn't seen Friends. So Videri, she seems like she's got a strong connection with the stars. Can you give us a little bit of information about where that connection might have come from, or I guess where you might be expecting it to go in the near future?
Well, yeah, the connection with the stars for Videri is where she sources her power at the end of the day. A circle of the light, you know, she takes the power from the stars and it gives her as stars are, you know, yeah, this heat and this combustion, they're on fire. I mean, it's one of those things that I always envisioned it was something that their family had kind of like tracked, and almost like you track an animal, you can track the stars over time and over the years, but uh, you know, all of a sudden things have started to change, and Videri's power hasn't necessarily changed, but things have gotten different in just a way that's unknown. I mean, for a character that doesn't necessarily leave their comfort space all too often, for any change to happen is quite jarring. Jarring enough to leave where you're comfortable and to go out into the open and to go along with it, for lack of a better word. But I think just the change in something that is so normal for a character who is just used to such a normal lifetime is enough to really start to shake things up.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. It's good insight into, I guess, what's how that's all gonna shape. Hopefully, as the campaign goes on, we'll start to find out a little bit of you know, more of the details. I guess some of the other questions that we could ask is why do you like candles so much? Why does Videri like candles so much?
Doesn't everyone?
I mean, that's fair.
I don't understand. Everyone sets up the candles every night in the exact formation in which lines up with stars.
She's still confused.
You're saying you don't have the candles.
I like how she gets
It's
super
so mean,
defensive
everyone.
about it and like super like, are you insane? What do you mean you don't do that?
Yeah. You're the problem.
You're the problem.
I'm finding these party members I'm hanging out with really weird. We've got people who are like really confident and people who are like stabbing stuff, but they don't know how to use tools right.
I mean, that's where you draw the line, right? That's just the end of it. You can't do it anymore. Is this one gonna? No, I'm gonna have to shrink this one down.
I'm kind of wondering whether or not our benevolent DM will ever steer us past a candle shop in our campaign. What will happen there?
I would love that.
Hello there, I'm Warwick, the candle maker. And like Videri's just head just goes super sane.
Yeah. Everybody follow my lead.
She's like, I know exactly what to do, guys. I got the hookup. This guy knows me. Been coming here for years.
Yeah, I've got the membership card. It's got 8 stamps on it.
She's like, I'm already at platinum gold level. I don't even think you're on the level scheme.
Yeah.
Your
Pulls
supply.
out my EB Games card. Don't you see?
Yeah, exactly. I'm level 5, thank you, which means I'm in the top 1% of all customers. Cool. Well, thank you, Nina, for that. Jumping back to Lolliput, this will be Lolliput's last question, and then we've got one final question for you, Videri, before we wrap things up tonight. So Lolliput's home, the Silver Vale, and the Imperium are currently in some sort of Cold War. How does Lolliput feel about the Imperium in general, which I think we've gotten a few inklings of during the sessions? But how will he react if asked to undertake tasks that might impinge on his loyalties to his homeland?
Well, the great thing about Lolliput is he has allegiances to himself and to his house, but in kind of like a vague, somewhat ephemeral way. He is not especially patriotic. So doing something that may impinge on the Twilight Imperium wouldn't be something that he would be against to, particularly because he can just wear another face as he does it. It's not like it's going to get blowback on him, and he's really kind of self-serving in that way. To milk this question a little bit more, as it's my last question, he's been locked in his estate almost since the day he was born, only kind of taken out for very few kind of social occasions. And his attachment, I guess, to the society and the court in his homeland is kind of more in kind of like a vague sense rather than like really like internalizing it. So, you know, I think he would definitely say where his allegiances lie. But in terms of like doing something that serves him in the moment, which may kind of like be unethical in terms of his homeland, he doesn't really have a lot of problems with that, or doesn't seem to think there would be much in a way of consequences that could kind of fall onto him.
Yep. And I guess the way he does get around that is he just pretends to be one of the Imperium and kind of plays that character out, and then they disappear, and then jumps over to the other side and just be like, man, fuck that guy. I mean...
Absolute jerk was that Imperium guy. Oh,
yeah.
Man. Lucky I'm cool, and you can trust me. What you got there?
This guy.
It's like, who's
got
got...
something you can trust?
Nah, awesome. Well, thank you, Richard. That's much appreciated answer to that question. And Videri, jumping into your final one. This one is another one. This one's from Metalbum herself. And it's a very...
A question from Metalbum?
Yep. Yeah, not just the kids this time. She would like to know, what hair products does Videri use on her hair, considering its situation? Like, how do you keep it under control? How do you keep it so shiny and bright?
Well, the first answer is definitely not a shower. That just doesn't make any sense. How would you keep a fire braid clean? Gosh, I mean...
Do you braid it
maybe
back?
The elephants
is it like,
have it right the whole time.
Yeah. It's just out of control, like, constantly. Or is it more like...
No. I would definitely say It's braided back like a French braid from the top of the head back to the bottom. One of those things where it is purposefully trying to be contained rather than just left at free will. But, I would say realistically behind closed doors, maybe when no one's watching, much as an elephant takes a dirt bath, Videri might just take a quick
Just dunks her head in the fireplace.
roll around in the dirt. If you do think about fire, it's not necessarily dirty, but to keep it in such a nice braid, I mean, you need a bit of hold that nothing other than dirt can give.
There you go. You heard it here first. The hair product Videri uses to keep her hair nice and shiny is not shampoo, it is dirt.
The elephants had it right the whole time.
Yep, it's exfoliating, keeps it clean, burns it off a little bit. It's interesting that it's like, when you think about fire hair, you just think about like Hades from Hercules, the Disney show. It ebbs and flows, and it's like its own sort of like incorporeal sort of energy. But for Videri, it's kind of like skirts the line between physically tangible, and also made out of fiery energy, which is a very interesting aesthetic. Richard's confused. He's like, how does that work?
I just love the idea of like dirt being Mother Nature's moose.
Maybe we're doing it all wrong as a species, like human in real life. Maybe that's our problem, is that we use these, products, but we could just walk out the back and slop some dirt and mousse our hair up.
I'm gonna put my head in a dirty puddle right after this call.
Let's test the theory.
Oh, Lord.
Well, thank you so much, Videri, for clearing that one up, or getting it more dirty, whichever way we want to say. But that's, sadly, viewers out there and my fantastic interviewees, that's where we're going to have to end it for tonight, for our second. I know. I told you it would go super quick. Blink and it's done. It's just constantly rolling, and you're just like, oh my god, it's been an hour. It's actually almost been an hour and 15 minutes. So I want to thank everybody out there on the Twitch land for joining us tonight to watch the second Secrets of the Conclave, our interview chat show, where we go through some hot tips, and interrogative techniques for the cast members of the Secrets of the Conclave. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I think the only real announcement that I have is that we are on tomorrow night for another episode of the Coast of Conclave. However, it has a very different spin, as it will not be a campaign episode due to our DM's life logistics. We are actually running a one-shot tomorrow night. Still starting at 7 o'clock, still going till about 10. And your DM for that session will be yours truly. So hopefully that goes well.
And tell me, Andy, is it still set within the world of Amar?
It is. And it may even be set roughly around the same time as the events of the main campaign. Very much unlike the one that Luke did, the very first sort of one that we put up on YouTube. We did that one shot where we went out to the jungles and stuff like that. For anybody who's watched that, if you haven't watched that, jump on YouTube and give that one a watch. It's a really good time. And the main thing is that that one, as far as we know, is set. Maybe, hopefully, not too spoilery. This is a secret. Set 10 years before the events of the current Chronicles of Amar campaign. But the one shot we are running tomorrow is set roughly around the same time. Roughly, some elements of the story of Chronicles of Amar might feed into this one shot, which will be really cool.
Sounds like it's necessary watching.
Yep, it sounds like you guys need to tune in tomorrow at 7 o'clock for the Coast of Conclave's one shot adventure, The Cult of Hunger. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and we will see you next time. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.